Stuff doesn't happen out of nowhere. It's almost like, a slow leak. Drip, drip, drip. And then the next thing you know, the pipe is rusted and there's a water break. Welcome to Mother-Daughter Connections, the show dedicated to educating, encouraging, and equipping moms to build lasting, meaningful connections with their daughters. I'm your host and mother-daughter relationship personal trainer, Dr. Michelle Deering. My heart is to be of help to you. I believe that your relationship with your mom is the foundation for your future success, personally, parentally, and professionally. Now remember, even though I'm a licensed psychologist, I'm not your shrink on this show. I am, however, here to share my opinions and those of my guests. If you have concerns about your mental health, please seek services from a mental health provider in your local area. Now join me as we pause to consider today's topic. Well, hi there and welcome. I am so excited that you're here with me today, in particular because I just got off a long flight where I was doing some sports psychology stuff with one of my teams, and I got back late, but as I was in flight, was looking at responses that folks had written to my Daughter Talk survey that I put out earlier this year. So I just wanted to read one of them to you and share some thoughts that I had about this particular situation. This one came from AJ. I'm using initials AJ. And she wrote, "My daughter has estranged herself from me and has not spoken to me in over 9 months. She didn't even invite me to her wedding. I know her dad had an impact on this and refused to talk to me about it all. She has also blocked her only living grandparents, my mom and dad, from all communication because they tried to talk to her about the importance of family, and she took it as them siding with me. She is now having a big influence on her sister, my younger daughter. I'm concerned that she will follow in her older sister's footsteps and estrange herself as she is getting more distant and has also blocked all communication with my parents." Now, at the end of all this, AJ did not ask a question, but AJ, I just want you to know that I hear you and I feel your heartache for the situation that you're in. There's some things that I want to share with you. And if you're a mom listening to this and you can kind of relate or relate specifically to what AJ wrote, please listen. There are 3 things that I want to cover in my thoughts. The first thing that I want to talk to you about and share with you has to do with solutions for situations like this. They are complex, and everything that I read in what you wrote to me just speaks volumes that there's a lot of history. I'm putting that in quotations, a lot of history there, because stuff doesn't happen out of nowhere. It's almost like, a slow leak. Drip, 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 and then the next thing you know, the pipe is rusted and there's a water break, and things just flow out and everything gets ruined. So it sounds like there's been some slow stuff dripping along, and your daughter just got to a place where she just made the decision that she made. And believe me, as a mom, I know that you feel the pain. Just know that it's probably something that did not come easy for your daughter to do. So it wasn't like she just got up and said one day, "I'm just going to not talk to you," or anything like that. She's gone through a lot of pain to even reach that point. So there's pain on both parts. So just know that I hear you. There's no one-size-fits-all kind of solution. There's research out there in a field of psychology called family systems, which basically looks at the different roles and rules that families have. And when it comes to estrangement, I really just want to define that for those of you who are listening. When the estrangement happens between a mother and daughter, it usually occurs because there's been some repeated or one-time mental, emotional, or physical injury. And the occurrence of that injury or outcome or effect is not acknowledged, validated, owned, or apologized for. And so those factors go into what would actually result in a daughter or a mom, but in this case, a daughter saying, "I'm not having anything to do with my mother." So as a mom, it's going to be really important to kind of pause to consider what's been going on, which brings me to looking at what I call the serial nature of the interactions that have been going on in your family. And it sounds like there's been a situation prior to your daughter getting married that only got magnified with what I call, even though it's a happy day, quote unquote, happy day weddings, okay, it's a stressful time for all involved. And so there was a situation going on prior to the wedding that then got magnified by the wedding coming up and occurring. So as a mom, if you're estranged from your daughter, as AJ is at this point, pausing to consider three things is going to be really important. The first thing is consider what reality has contributed to the current situation. And that reality, even though I put it in air quotes, that reality is really real and it's hard to face. And it's going to be important for you as a mom to actually face that reality. The second thing to actually pause to consider is what role have you had in that situation? And by role, I'm talking about whether it was something that was done intentionally, unintentionally, unknowingly. Has your daughter said anything, implied anything? What role? Everyone's got a role in what's going on in a family's dynamics. And then the third thing to consider has to do with what ramifications of the situation are you having a hard time dealing with? Because that's the thing that's contributing to either your vision being clouded or not seeing things for what they really are. And that's the kind of thing that when I have my mom clients go through my Motherhood Mastery Mentoring program, that's the kind of stuff that we work through because of the background that I have in my mentoring program. I'm drawing upon that to actually get at the root of things real quickly. So you're not spending a lot of time on things. We get in there, identify stuff, you get homework, you implement it, and you start the process for seeing transformation in your mother-daughter relationship. So I have just a few slots open. Definitely apply. Go to bit.ly/motherhood mentor and get the process started. And now the third final thing that I want to say to you, AJ, and to moms out there who are in a similar situation is that weddings, just in and of themselves, as I mentioned earlier, are not only stressful, but they bring up the best and worst in people. So many feelings, so many meanings, so many things get perceived and attached to stuff. The simplest thing I remember from my wedding, and if you read my book, What Mothers Never Tell Their Daughters, I talk about, a decision that I made with regards to the wedding. But my mom had this one item, this one thing that she was really fixated on. And for me to decide to not partake of the thing that she was fixated on, it had a whole meaning to her. All right. It had a whole meaning to me. Prior to the wedding, it didn't have that much meaning. Okay. But when faced with stuff in the fray, the meaning just came up, and it was something that she and I had to work through. So that was for me and my mom. I know that AJ, your wedding, by the time that you hear this on air, the wedding has passed. But just know that weddings bring up a whole bunch of meaning for folks. And if you're a mom out there who is facing an upcoming wedding, or things are kind of rocky between you and your daughter, and a big event is coming up like a wedding, I really want you to pause to consider what the day is really all about and who the day is really for. The weddings are about, and folks might disagree with me, but weddings are about the bride and groom, the couple getting married. That's what the day is about. And who the day is for is really about that couple getting married. And so as a mom, it's going to be really important to remember that you're the adult in the situation. By adult, I mean you have many years on your daughter, okay, who is obviously younger than you are. So you're the adult, and ultimately, as the adult, as her mom, it's going to be important for you to take the higher road and be present, whether it's close by, actually at the wedding, or if you're not invited to the wedding, be present at a distance, sending those good vibes towards your daughter. It's going to be important for you to be supportive in whatever big or small way. Be supportive. And by that, I don't mean you're supportive and you're a mat that's walked over. I'm just talking about being supportive in your intentions, in whatever little way that you think you can be of help to your daughter for her day, do so. And then in addition to being supportive, be helpful to the couple, because ultimately She's an adult, has made the decision that she's going to make, and any way that you can help her for that day, it's going to be a seed that will be planted and it will bear fruit later on in your relationship. So, AJ, just know I hear you. Moms, if you'd like to be part of my mentoring program, my Motherhood Mastery Mentoring Program, just go to bit.ly/motherhood mentor. Well, that's all I have time for today, but I'm really, really glad that we got to spend this time together. Make sure you continue to listen in. Remember, healthy mother-daughter relationships are possible. They just take one curative connection at a time. I'll see you next week. You've been listening to Mother-Daughter Connections with me, your host and mother-daughter relationship personal trainer, Dr. Michelle Deering. Thanks so much for joining me today. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Share this episode with a friend so they don't miss an episode. And download the resource in the show notes. Until next time, remember to pause to consider how you can connect intentionally so you can improve relationally with your daughter.